What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Today I'm going to go over some of the things I missed about the 50 Sigma 1.4 art lens for Sony E-mount. I completely forgot to talk about video, autofocus, and a couple of other little points that people wanted to know about. So the difference today is that I also went to Auckland Camera Centre and they gave me a copy of the 50 1.4 Sony Zeiss lens to try out. So we're going to put these two head to head, see how they compare with each other, and I'll give you guys some links to raw photos that you can play with. We'll have a look at sharpness and aberration and background blur. Really sort of do a real test on how they compete with each other. So quickly, just addressing a couple of things before we move on with the review. In my previous video, I did say in a comment that the Sigma was smaller than the Sony. That is in fact wrong. I was wrong about that. The Sigma is a little bit taller than the Sony lens and a little bit thinner. They do feel about the same weight when I'm holding them head to head, but you know, the Sigma is a little bit taller, so sorry about that. I have to correct myself. The biggest difference between these two lenses, as you can see, the Sony has a aperture ring that you can manually control the aperture on the body, which is quite nice. They both just have an AF and MF switch on the other side. The other difference that the Sony lens has, which will be good for video guys, is that it has a switch on the side where you can declick the aperture ring to make it nice and smooth when you're changing aperture while recording video. Another thing to note is that the Sigma lens does have a weather sealing gasket around the mount. The Sony does not. I believe Sony has said that the Zeiss lens is semi-weather sealed, but it does not have the rubber ring around the mount, which I really like about the Sigma lens. Other than that, the build quality seems to be really nice between them both. The difference in the filter size is 72mm versus 77mm on the Sigma. Build quality between both of them is really nice. They both seem to be really well made. In terms of focus, the Sigma does have a mechanical focus system in it. It's not fly-by-wire like the Sony, so technically speaking, the manual focus in the Sigma lens should be a lot smoother than the Sony when you're doing video and you want to manually focus your shots. So anyway, let's get into the comparison. What's up, man?
All good, all ready.
So you can try out this iFocus? Do your little dance? Yeah. Alright guys, I've got my setup here, so it's pretty intense looking rig, but I'm going to start off with the 50. So this is the Sony 50mm 1.4 Zeiss, and I've got it plugged into my Atomos recorder, and we're going to just record Rob's face with eye detection and all that sort of stuff, and see how it goes compared to the Sigma. So I've already taken some sample images of, you know, these trees and all that sort of stuff going on in the background. So you can have a look at that. I'll upload those RAWs for you to play with. So right now I have IAF on, and I'm just holding down my AEL button. So you know, that's my tracking, that's my eye tracking button. So and again, this is the 50mm 1.4 Sony lens, not the Sigma at the moment. All right, go back, man. All right, and just move around a little bit. You can go back a bit further probably as well. So I'm just going to hold it down and let it lose it. So I'll go see on the edge. Still, even the native Sony one, when you get right to the edge, it sort of freaks out a little bit. But it's working pretty well. Come up. Go a bit faster. So it's a nice dance, man. So you can see this one's really fast. It doesn't seem to have any problem sort of keeping up at all. Not really much to say. It's pretty basic. It works. If I go right out to the edge, so get to about there, and then it freaks out. Remember, this is the R3 as well, not the A7RIII or the A9. So about there is where you can go to with this lens. I think the Sigma's about the same, but let's just chuck the Sigma on anyway, and we'll have a look how that one goes, eh? Alright guys, here we go. So we've got the Sigma on now. Sigma 50mm 1.4. If I go right to the edge, so you can see it's pretty much exactly the same in terms of edge focus as the Sony, which is a pretty good sign. Alright, so go back. Starting to spit a little bit. Alright, come up, do it reasonably fast. There you go. So you know, in terms of photo focus, it's really quick. Alright, go do it again. You can see the background just sort of fading out there. Keep going back. Still got his eye, still got your eye. Yeah, there, so it lost it there. And then I'll just sort of switch over to AF on. But if I hold it down, yeah, it's got him again. Just move around a little bit more down there. Yeah, about there.
All the way back.
Do about there and just sort of move around a little bit.
You want me to turn her up?
Yep. So it's lost its eye. See, that picks it up really fast. So you can see it's it works pretty much as good as a native one. Lost it. There we go. It picks it up really fast. It's quite good. Come right up again. Yeah, nice. Works really well. All right, I'll do some video focus tests now. So I'll just switch over to video mode and then we'll record it and see how this one goes. All right, so I've got the Sony 50mm on now, the 50mm 1.4 Sony Zeiss at 1.4 in video mode, and it's recording. If you just go back again and we'll see how it catches up. Yep, and come up. Nice, that's fast. I move over here and then back. So that's pretty quick. Yeah, that's real nice. Go back again. All right, and come up. Sweet. All right, so that's pretty quick. I'll stop recording on that one and I'll switch over to the Sigma and we'll see how that works. All right, so I've got the Sigma 51.4 on now. Same settings, I haven't changed anything. Yeah, go ahead. It's hard to see on this monitor, it's not very good, but come up. Still feels quite, yeah, see, right, and I think in close focus the Sigma is a little bit slower. But in terms of responsiveness, go back a little bit. It seems about the same. Maybe it's definitely, in terms of tracking, it's definitely not as fast, but it's still working pretty awesome. Come up. About there, yeah. And go all the way back again. So it does take a little bit of time to catch up if he moves away quickly. Keep going back. So still got his face. Yeah, lost your face there. All right, come up. Found his face again. So that's pretty good. I'm still pretty happy with that. It's, like I said, it's definitely not as fast as the Sony, but it's still pretty fast. Plenty fast enough for any kind of video work, I think. All right, so that's pretty much it in terms of video. Alright guys, so here we go. I just thought I would bring it up into Lightroom and record the screen so you can see what we've got going on here. The first thing I'll say is that the Sony has a little bit more vignetting, which surprised me at 1.4. And if we zoom in here, I focused on the tree. You can see here they're pretty much the same from my eyes. Even the background looks really similar. I can see a little bit more aberration on the 1.4 Sigma as opposed to the Sony, which doesn't really surprise me. The Sigma, you know, that hasn't been corrected, like I said, but you know, the Sigmas are really good in terms of chromatic aberration, but the Sony is a touch better. Looking at the background, they both kind of look busy actually. A lot of people were commenting previously saying the Sigma looked quite chaotic in the background, whereas here they kind of both look the same to me. But I don't know, that's personal taste, each to their own with that. Obviously there's not much point looking at the corners in this because they'll be way out of focus anyway, although here the Sony does look a little bit better, and again you see a little bit of aberration there and a little bit less on the Sony, which is good. So here we go, 2.8, same Sigma art in the Sony one here. I would say the Sony is just a fraction sharper at 2.8 where it's focused there. Just a real tiny bit. We'll skip all the way down to 5.6 now. Now they should be pretty much both the same, I would say. So yeah, as I said, both really similar. At 5.6 you can't really tell them apart. Right on the corners there, both really good, no aberration. I don't think a normal person could tell the difference between those two, to be honest. So this one, what I did was I focused here on the log, but had it down in the corner because, you know, I'd sometimes put a couple, you know, their faces down in that sort of area and focus on them that way. And I'm going to give this one to the Sigma. Actually, I think it's a little bit better at 1.4. Really close, but I think the Sigma's a little bit better at 1.4, right on the edges. And same, a little bit more chromatic aberration on this one, but you know, you can still see it in the Sony. So optically, so far, they're both pretty amazing, really. If I go right out to 5.6 now, so 50 Sony here, 50 Art here, again focused on the tree. Wait for this one to load. And yeah, man, that's surprising. See, I'm going to give it to the Sigma again. It's definitely sharper towards the edges. So here I forgot to take all the rest of the shots at different apertures with the Sony, so we've only got them at 1.4. I was focused on the sign here, and you can see the other thing I slipped up is this one's at 32 thousandth of a second, this one is at 4 thousandth of a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring that up 1 point, and they look pretty even now. The histogram looks pretty even. So one thing I'm noticing here is there's quite a big difference in color. The white balance is exactly the same between these two lenses. So if I just go back to develop there, you can see this was set to 5650. So I just changed it to 5600 to be exactly the same. And there's a really weird color cast going on in the Sony one. I honestly don't know why that is. Maybe you guys can tell me, but if you look at the sign, it's quite green on this one compared to the Sigma. So really interesting there. I don't know what's up with that. I'm not saying, you know, possibly I done something wrong, but I don't know why the Sony is like that. Don't bite my head off. It just is what it is. Anyways, guys, I'm going to upload some of these files for you to have a play with, and you can just sort of have a look for yourselves. Maybe comment below, let me know what you think. See you next time.